Hello everyone, Jai Jagannath. I am Jasmine here. In our last series, we discussed about data and types of data like structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data. Then we discussed about database and types of database like relational database, NoSQL database, distributed database, and then data warehouse. Then we discussed about DBMS and types of DBMS. Relational DBMS, hierarchical DBMS, network DBMS, and then object-oriented DBMS. And then at the end we discussed about features or functions of DBMS. Okay. Here I highly recommend whoever did not attend my last series, just go back and see so that you will get thorough knowledge into that. So without wasting time, let's start our today's session. As you see, the first slide is talking about data model. Okay. So what do you understand about data model? Tell me. Every time, as I mentioned, whenever you will come across any content, any concept, just break down so that we can easily understand. Okay. Model means it is nothing but your diagram. Okay, like blueprint. Okay, suppose whenever we are going to build on our house, we are first making a model, planning, layout. Okay, that layout, the picturization format is nothing but your model. Here it is talking about model about data. So like it is saying that visual diagram of the like how that data storage, that data organized, and the organization of the data, storage of the data, retrieve of the data. Okay, let's explore how it is happening, how it is working with the data. Okay, it is saying data modeling is the process of visually designing of how data will be stored, organized, and retrieved in our database. Okay, here this whole series about that SQL will revolve around the database DBMS. Okay, mind it. And so accordingly, here it is saying that data model helps in creating the blueprint of the database before actual implementation. Okay, so it is saying about the blueprint of the database. No doubt we know the concept, theoretical concept of the database and DBMS, but here the actual practical work is how it is happening, we'll see. Okay, in our daily work environment. So it is saying about that blueprint of the database. Suppose we are taking that hostel database. Okay, here I have mentioned that a hostel database. Okay, so it is saying that before actually we are implementing, we'll have to first assume we'll plan the blueprint of the hostel, what will be there in that hostel database. If we'll take inside that hostel table, we'll take. Okay, so under hostel table, what will be there? Different columns like hostel ID 1, and then hostel name, then it says location. So these are the different column. This is nothing but your schema. Okay, or attribute we can say. Okay, and also it says about ER diagram, entity relationship diagram. Okay, that is also like relationship, like how the relationship build among the attribute, or it is saying entity, that's why it is saying entity relationship diagram. Okay, so here entity means your table, like this hostel. Okay, so it is saying that entity and relationship. Okay, ER diagram, we design table, their attributes and their relationship before creating them in MySQL. Okay, so first we will have to plan, we will have to make the blueprint for the database. Like hostel is the table, then in that table inside what are the column, and that column should related to the particular table. If suppose I will tell that here that I will take hostel table, and then I will keep under that one student name, student age, but it will not create the sense. Okay, it will not make any sense. Okay, so that column should be valid and that should be related to the table. Okay, in that way we will have to make the your assumption. And then it is saying about first table, then column, and then what type of relation. Whenever that relation term will come, relation means no doubt in any two table. Okay, what type of relation it is making, because suppose inside that hostel table if I will say that hostel id name, it is nothing, it does not make any sense. Okay, but if I will say like one hostel but there are many rooms, that creates a sense. Okay, so that's why we can say like one hostel many rooms, that means it is saying about one to many relationship. Okay, suppose if I'll assume like one hostel table, one room table. Okay, one room table, so there we'll say like only one hostel and inside that one room only. Okay, then we'll say one to one relationship. Okay, suppose many hostels and many room table we have taken, then there will be the relation as many to many relation. Okay, so relationship exists between two or more tables. Okay, two or more tables. When the concept of two tables more than that, then the concept of relationship will come. Okay, so let's start. Key concept, it is saying about key concept. Key concept is nothing but about your, it talks about your components. What are the components will catch inside the data model. Inside that data model there will be ER concept. Under ER concept there will be what are the components. Let's see. It's first the element will come entity. Entity is nothing but about your table. Okay, then second component will be attribute. It is nothing but your column. Primary key, it says about that unique identifier, like unique identifier for each record. Okay, suppose that student table, who will be the primary key through which every record will be identified. Suppose I will suppose there's under the student table there will be a student roll number, then student name, student age or student blood group. Okay, 4 columns will be there we are taking. Then which unique identifier through which we can uniquely identify each record. Suppose simple, no doubt based on your student roll number. Okay, so based on the student roll number we can uniquely identify each record for the our data. Okay, so if we'll take the example like suppose how I mentioned like a student roll number. Suppose under the student roll number 1 2 3 4 5 serially it is mentioned. Likewise second column student name, like there also it is mentioned XYZ. Okay, just assume. And then student blood group O positive, B positive. Okay, then A, likewise it is mentioned. So here based on only student roll number we can uniquely identify each record. Suppose I am saying roll number 2, so roll number 2 will pick up and based on that row will just pick up the data. Okay, then foreign key also it just connects the 2 or more tables, so that relationship will exist. Then relationships, like as we mentioned, like one to one, one to many and many to many relationship. Okay, then case studies of the data modeling in database. Okay, what it says, suppose here we have taken like 3 tables as you saw. Okay, as you see there are 3 tables. What are they? One is hostel table, one is room table, one is student table. So you just tell me inside hostel what you will come, that will have to analyze. Okay, sometimes in your question you may get, sometimes you may not get, that time you will have to analyze on your own. Okay, So no doubt inside hostel definitely there will be an hostel ID will be there. Okay, then hostel name will be there, then location. Suppose we are taking 3 columns. Okay, likewise under room what we will get, room ID will be there, room number will be there, then hostel ID will be there. Then under student table there will be an student ID column, then name column, age column, room ID column. Okay, so here whenever I will go only that hostel table, my first and foremost duty will be to find out the primary key. Okay, in each every table first we will find out the who is the primary key. As I mentioned, primary key is the unique identifier for each record. So what will be that column? So we'll have to identify which column can work as primary or your unique identifier. So that is nothing but your ID. Okay, so here inside hostel table who will be your primary key column? That is the nothing but your hostel ID column will act as it is primary key. Likewise, if we'll go room under room table, that under room table who will be your primary key? You just tell me, Ajo, that room ID. Okay, because here you may see that room ID one is there, another one is your hostel ID. Okay, 2 ID, but you will have to assume. So no doubt room ID will be your primary key. First, under what basis we are going to analyze about that room? Obviously, it is room table means room ID is the primary key. So room ID column will be your primary key. Likewise, under student table, which column will act as primary key? Undoubtedly, it is your student ID column. Okay. So primary key concept, I think you got it. Okay. Now we will explore what is the foreign key. That AFK is your foreign key. That foreign key concept, when it comes, whenever any 2 or more table you will see, that time you know that concept of foreign key will come, because foreign key is the only key who joins or who connects the tables, 2 or more tables. Okay, how many tables will be there, that will be connected and relationship will exist because of foreign key. That foreign key links the tables. Okay, so here foreign key. Okay, suppose whenever we'll take that hostel table and room table, so who is which column is the common column, that will act as your foreign key. Okay, just remember what I am saying, just keep concentration. Okay, hostel table it is there. Okay, and one more table is there, room table. We are taking suppose 2 tables, hostel table and room table. So one is the what, hostel ID is the primary key is here, but in room table room ID is the primary key. So one left a hostel ID. But what I told about the foreign key is the key. How we can find in between 2 tables which one is the foreign key? We'll look into that. Which column is the common column in between 2 tables? That column will work as your foreign key. Okay, so here hostel ID is the common column. Okay, here also hostel ID, here also hostel ID. So that hostel ID column will be your foreign key. Okay, likewise if I will take room table and student table. Okay, so inside that room just find out which column is the common column in between room table and student table. Okay, no doubt here I can see room ID, here also no doubt room ID is there. So in between room and student table, foreign key will be the your room ID. Okay, you got it? Then our concept is about relationship. As we mentioned, the relationship exists whenever one or more tables are there. So here 3 types of relationship exist, like one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationships, and many-to-many relationships. Okay, like suppose hostel table you have taken and room table you have taken. in simple way, one hostel, but there are many rooms. Okay, whenever you will go one hostel, there you will find many rooms are there. Okay, so there how the relationship will exist at one hostel, many rooms are there. So one to many, hostel to room table are connected through the relationships, that is one to many. Okay, here hostel and here is the room. One hostel, here is the room are many, that means one to many. Logically if we'll see, one to many. Okay, suppose I will ask you like how the relationship exists between room to hostel. That time which relationship will come? Many to one, because rooms are many but hostel is one. So that time relationship will come as many to one relationships. Okay, suppose I will say rooms are many, students also will come many. Okay, whenever you will go to one hostel, you will find one hostel. Okay, one hostel name is there, then inside that hostel there are many rooms are there, and inside that rooms many students are there. Okay, so no doubt if I will say hostel to room, how is the connection relationship? Hostel to rooms, that is one to many. But when I will ask you room to hostel, that will come as many to one. Then if I will say room to student relationship, how it is? We know many rooms and students also there are many. So many to many relationship exists. Okay. Suppose I will say room is, I am taking only, talking about only one room. Okay. Room is one. But your students, suppose if you are going to only one room, so inside one room you may find one student, you may find 2, 3, 4, per room wise how many students are staying. Okay, suppose I am taking only one room and inside that room suppose there are 3 students are staying, so students are 3. So that time what will be the relation? One to many. Okay, but if suppose I am saying a single room, like single room and single one student, that time one to one relationship. Okay, whenever I will tell you that room, suppose 3 rooms you are talking about and students also I were taking 9 students, so that time many to many relation will come. Okay, so 3 relationships, one to one, one to many, many to many. Okay, then just go through it. Okay, then we'll move towards our next slide that talks about MySQL ecosystems. It is nothing about your MySQL components, what are there. Okay, so 3 types of components are there, basically MySQL, MySQL Workbench and MySQL Shell. Okay, let's see what is MySQL. So MySQL is a RDBMS. It is a software or application. Okay, it's owned by Oracle. Okay, so MySQL is a relational database management system developed by Oracle. It is an actual database server where data is stored inside that, and as we know, inside that database table will be there in form of row and column, and it uses SQL language, structured query language, for managing or storage and retrieve for the data. Okay, and it supports multiple operating system like your Windows, Mac, okay, Linux, Ubuntu. Okay, and then it is a open source. Okay, open source software, and then it provides the engine to run SQL queries, manage the tables, relationships, index, each and every function. It, how it helps? It helps in the, one is the SQL query, then second one is for the data analysis. How data analysis in the sense how we are retrieving the data. Okay, and then for the backend development purpose. Okay, then it is saying about how you interact with it. We interacted with through the one is the command line, okay, that is done by through your MySQL Shell component, and then second it is saying graphical user interface tool, because whatever it will give us through us in the output, that is in the visual diagrammatic form, okay, like in the tabular form, okay, row and column or grid form, okay, tabular grid form. And then third is it is the what, it is helps in the through the programming uses connector, okay, through the connector how we are connecting through the any uh, programming language like Python, Java, okay. It is saying PHP MyAdmin or Workbench, both are the tool, okay. PHP MyAdmin is same as the Workbench, but it is the web browser tool, it is the desktop application tool, your Workbench, okay. Here we'll go for Workbench. Then coming to MySQL Workbench, it is MySQL Workbench, it is nothing but your tool, okay. It is a graphical user interface tool, and we can say it is a client for MySQL, because MySQL is a server, okay, and it is MySQL Workbench is a tool which acts as client for MySQL, okay. And then it is used to interact with MySQL server visually, okay. Then it makes the easier for the SQL queries run and design database, manages the servers, okay. Just they all are interrelated, okay. Then features, what are the features? It helps in SQL development, like SQL development in the sense, in SQL means structured query language, so query language, so it helps in write and running the queries and views that result or output in form of table, okay. And then it helps in data modeling, as we mentioned, like ER diagrams, like entity, that relationship, attributes, okay, and primary key, foreign key, everything, that data modeling it shows in the form of design or visualization form. And then server administration, that means it talks about manage the how it manages the users and monitors the performance and for any backup and restore purpose, okay. Then data migration means from one file to another, likewise import the data from other different databases, okay. We'll see in our project time, we'll explore these things. Then it is talking about MySQL Shell, same way it is also a client tool for MySQL, okay. For MySQL both are the client, one is the MySQL Workbench, one is the MySQL Shell, okay. And MySQL Workbench is it is the GUI, that graphical user interface, okay. And Shell, it is nothing but your command line, that query that supports multiple languages like Java, JavaScript, and that Python, okay. Just go through it. If you have any doubts, just comment me on the comment section, okay. So before installing MySQL Workbench, just we should know about the concept, okay, so that going forward you will get the clarity in that. So tell me, which one is here, client and server? If we'll see about MySQL and MySQL Workbench, then MySQL server will be the server and here Workbench will be the client, okay. But for MySQL both are the client, that Workbench and Shell, okay. Let's move towards our last slide for today's MySQL architecture, okay. Architecture is the diagrammatic pictures which talks about that MySQL, like client, server, and communication. Basically the relationship between the client and server, okay. We can say client server model or client server relationship. As we see from the diagram, here it is the MySQL client and here it is the MySQL server. Completely right side it is your MySQL server part and that left side is your MySQL client, okay. Client side program, here it is the server side program, okay. Both will run the program. Here it is the MySQL Workbench like your, as I say, client. Okay, here MySQL server, as I say, for the server it is a server. Okay, here it is the client, this one is the server, and in middle, client to server, how it will be communicated. Suppose you will act as a sender, then it will act as a receiver. If we'll see one side, then that time it is the sender, it will be the receiver. Okay, how they will be communicated: sender to receiver, receiver to sender, like client to server, and then server to client. Okay, like through the TCP or IP network, like transaction control protocol or internet protocol. Okay, like it is your https:// okay, through SQL commands. The communication will happen through the TCP or IP network, like it is your SQL commands. Let's see client server model. Like MySQL works on a client server architecture. The server, it is your MySQL. Okay, MySQL server, that which stores the, as you saw, what it stores, like database, table. So here the database, like MySQL server, it stores the data inside the database in the form of table. Okay, so server, MySQL server stores the databases and process the SQL queries. Okay, the client is the tool, like MySQL Workbench. Here will, whatever will do through the Workbench, that sends the query to server. Okay, then communication happens through the TCP or IP network. Even if suppose server and client in one machine, then also it will work. Okay, under the same machine through the local host, we can say. Okay, then how it works? Suppose whenever we'll install that MySQL Workbench, just in our next series we'll discuss about the MySQL installation. Okay, so just keep patience and just put your concentration here. Okay, so whenever we open, first we'll open the tool. Okay, that MySQL Workbench. That time in our that database, we'll create a database, and then we'll use the database. Then we'll start the execute working on the queries. Okay, suppose we want to retrieve the all student information from the student table. So what we need to write the query, like student select all from student table, that table name. Okay, so what it will do, that Workbench, who acts as a client, okay, that sends this query. Whenever we'll open that MySQL in client side, that MySQL Workbench, okay, we write the query like select all. Okay, select all from table name, like a student table. Okay, and then semicolon. Okay, whenever we just wrote that query, what it will do, it will send to the, where it will send, it will send to MySQL server. Okay, so that time what server will do, server will look inside that, because it is the table name. So database and table name, it is the our important component. So it will, what it will do, first it will go for which table name. So it is so student table name. Okay, so what it will do, it will search for the student table. Okay, then retrieve. So it is saying about all. So whatever all the like records, all the columns, it will display, retrieve. Okay, so what MySQL will search here under the database, which table is the student table. Okay, under this student table it will retrieve the records. So here it is, that's why it says the server looks inside that students table, retrieves the rows and sends them back to whom? Obviously client was the sender. So receiver what will do, whenever MySQL server will get that data and retrieve the data, and then it will send towards again client. Okay, so then my Workbench displays that result in a tabular form or grid view. Okay, so we'll slowly explore into that. So whenever we'll write the query, in just down there will be result will be visible. In that result will displayed in the form of table. or grid view. Okay, then here it is saying Workbench connects to the server through host, username, password. Okay, then come to, it is saying just in shortly how we can analyze, like client sends the request to server, and server what it does, it processes and it searches that particular table inside that database and then retrieve the fetch the data and then response to the MySQL client tool is the Workbench. Okay, then after what Workbench does, Workbench just displays that result in form of grid view or table form. Okay, and how Workbench connects to the server? Workbench connects to the server through four things: host, username, password, and one is the port. Okay, port name. Suppose host, there is a like local or server IP. How it responds? Like suppose in one machine, how I mentioned, like here it is mentioned that server and client are on the same machine. Suppose in my system now I am working on that and my database is here also inside that same. Okay, my client is here and my server is also here. Okay, so I don't need to go type to anyone for particular data. Okay, so my both client and server in that machine it is present. Okay, so that time I will use the host as local host. Okay, but whenever suppose I will type to get the data from Google, that time Google will be the server and I am as the client, so that time we'll use as the server IP. Okay, that IP address will be there. In that way we'll use host in two ways. Okay, so four things Workbench connects to the server, that is host, username, password and your port name. Okay, so just go through it. If you have any doubts, just comment me on the comment section. Okay, so that's it for today's session. Hope you will like it and enjoy it. Okay, so here I will say, just as usual, like the video and comment on the comment box in below of the video, and then subscribe the channel Take and Beyond with Jasmine. Okay, and then share it with your friends and family. Okay, just circulate. Till then, bye bye. I will see you with a new chapter in my new video. Thank you.